Yeah. In today's session, we are going to talk about the types of software testing. Okay. What are the different types of software testing we are having? Okay, and how and what is the meaning of this software testing? We are going to talk now. That with this particular topic, we are getting more into our testing activities, and also, as mentioned, in the next session onwards, or okay, so tomorrow or even Friday, we are going to start about writing the test cases. Okay, and then we will try to have some sessions. As promised at the beginning, we are going to have some demo sessions by some other QA managers. We are going to have some sessions. We will be announcing a day earlier about those sessions. Okay, that we will be starting next week. So usually we are going to talk about two types of testing. One is called as the manual, and the next one is the automated testing. There are two types of tests we are going to have. One is called as the manual testing, and the next one is the automated testing. So what is the difference between manual testing and what is the difference between manual testing and automated testing? Manual testing, as the name itself says, we are going to open the application and we are going to start testing that. Okay, in the sense, manually you operate, manually you move from one place, one form to the other, or one place to the other, or click on the application, or perform the testing with a human being is sitting and then doing that particular testing. Okay, most of the time this manual testing is preferred, or manual testing is useful when we do not know the exact feature, okay, exact application we do not know. In that case, we can go for the manual. Whereas automated testing in this case, it is going to be, you know, the exact forms or exact application, and you know the exact behavior of that application. At that time, when you want to test it, we are going to use the automated testing. But why we use this automated testing? It is most of the times we use the automated testing for regression purposes. Okay, regression purpose, like you built some application, and now in that case you want to make sure whenever there is a change in the application, nothing has been changed. Okay, that is one particular feature which we will be using the automated testing. There are some tools, even now the tools are being built to verify, okay, if the code is built according to standard or not. Okay, so some of those, if you want to capture something, so in that case also you can try to use the automated testing. Okay, now in this case we are going to talk more about the manual testing. Okay, and at times we'll be using the automated also. Okay, so so most of the cases, we will talk about this testing, right? We talk about 7 different types of tests we talk, okay? We just go with the overview first, and then we will go for both, we will talk about the client server as well as the web-based applications, okay? We are going to talk about both. But we just try to see what are the major testing we are going to have, okay? Unit tests. The first one, it is called as the unit testing. Okay, we just write that, and then we go for what is meant by the unit testing. Unit testing, it is called as the low level testing, it is called. Okay, low level testing we can call, that is called as the unit testing. Or we can even call, we can also call it as a low level testing, or we can call, okay, the code, okay, testing by the development team. Okay, most of the time testing by the developers. Okay, But instead of calling it as a testing by developers, at times what we use is functional unit testing also we call it, okay? Means at the lowest level, if the functionality is working properly or not, okay? So that's why I just remove this. So it's called as a low level testing we have. So what is mean by low level testing? Like the code that is written, or when you are, if sometimes, right, you during the testing, at times in some of the applications where you do need not even write any code. Okay, so only with the setups you can perform the test, you can perform the application up and running. If the application is already there, and just to suit your application, to suit your testing, we are going to do the setups. Like most of the ERP applications, example, if you take it as SAP, or even if you take Oracle ERP or Oracle Cloud, so that in that case, we are going to have the unit testing. Means this can be the development team or it can be the functional team. Okay, so it depends on what kind of testing we are going, what feature we are going to test. It could be by the development team or it could be by the function. The low level, the basic functionality we are going to testing, that is called as a unit testing. Okay, so it is most of the time, if you just take any of the web applications or any of the applications, right, we can call it as individual methods and functions. Okay, individual methods and functions we are going to talk about. That is the unit testing we can call. And the second one, you can call it as integration testing. Integration testing, when we say, okay, what is mean by the integration testing? In that case, it is something like when you have more than one application, one module in the application. So those modules are properly working. Okay, so that is called as a integration testing. Like example, if you just take Gmail, okay, this is not the totally perfect, but we are just trying to correlate that. Okay, in case of integration testing, you have a draft feature in the Gmail. Okay, you start writing something. Okay, you just save it, and then when you are going to press the send button, what you are going to test, this send, once you click the send button, you need to see that that particular email is in the sent folder, not in the draft anymore. Okay, like that. So these are the two different modules if you just take it. So that particular integration we are going to talk. And the next one, it is something like the functional testing. Functional testing means whether the application is working properly or not. That is what is called as a functional testing. Okay, so whether the requirements are properly built. Okay, whatever you are asking for, whether you get that particular requirements in place or not. That is called as a functional testing. It's like always I just go back to my site. Okay, so this particular one, okay, when you are having the functional testing, okay, I just want to see that, okay, home, when I just click on the home, whether it is going to the home or not. Okay, like about us, whether you have the proper functionality, whatever I ask for, is it working or not, like announcements. Likewise, okay, contact us. Okay, whether you have this particular functionality. And in this case, okay, now, if you just take the example of unit testing, right? So in the case of the unit testing, the first check what we will be doing here, name, we just put the star. Whenever you have a star, which means it is mandatory column. Okay, so in this case, if I just, without giving any value, if I just click on submit, whether it is going through or not, that is what we are going to have in the unit testing. Okay, like all these columns. And also functional testing, when it comes to, okay, I just provide all the values and click on submit. Now I have to make sure that the entries which you have, okay, whatever the functionality which I asked for, in this case, I have the functionality that I'm asking for is to send an email. Okay, that email, whether it is properly delivered or not. Okay? Without even I just roll over this particular site, okay, into the www, okay, where I need to make sure that this is working properly. That is what the functional testing we are going to perform. Likewise, when I just click on this, okay, so it has to go to that email, okay, and also whether when I just click on this, whether the Gmail, whether the YouTube is opening or not, like privacy policy. I just need to make sure whatever I give it in the site, everything is working properly or not. How we are going to test it? That is what we are going to start writing in the test cases. One of the test case which I have is something like here. When I click on the logo, it has to go to the home page. That is one requirement. Okay. And this, so whether the site, whether the content is correct or not, okay, whether the spelling is correct or not, depending on the test case, we are going to validate that. That is what we are going to have in case of the unit test functional testing here. Okay. And then comes the next part. It is called end-to-end testing. Okay. It is a end-to-end testing is the next kind of feature we will be talking. End-to-end testing. So what is mean by end-to-end testing? Like again, if I go back to the same site, right? So because once I start typing the URL, okay, I want to see this whole entire application is there. Now I go for each and every page and see that everything is working fine. Okay. And email feature is working, everything is working fine. I just make sure, and when I'm going to close it, okay, so at that time it has to close properly. So this is all what we are going to have in case of the end-to-end testing, the whole entire application of what we are going to use, okay, end to end, okay, beginning to the ending. Like in the case of database, I need to go back and then check in the database functional database also. I need to see if the data is properly uploaded or properly stored or not. So this is what we are going to have in case of the end-to-end. This up to now, up to this particular testing, it is all going to be done by the teams. Okay, the IT team is going to perform all these tests. Unit testing, we are going to perform, say yes, everything is fine. It could be functional unit testing or code unit testing, can be done by development team or the function or the BAs or subject matter experts, okay, or the testing team, okay. So they will be performing integration testing between the modules. We are going to check functional testing, the actual application is correctly working as per the requirements or not, okay. Whatever the agreed upon requirements, if it is working or not. Then comes to the end-to-end testing, whether it is properly from beginning to the ending, it is properly working or not. Now, after this, we are going to have the next level of testing. Okay, you know that, okay, we tested all those for our knowledge, everything is working. But we are just the gatekeepers, okay? We are not the ultimate authority. When we are going to test it, it is the user is ultimate authority who is going to say, yes, the requirements are working. Because if you are developing, you obviously you say that, okay, it is already there, okay? May be or may not be, but most of the time, right? So because we know what our perspective is based on the requirements, okay? The development we are going to talk. But the person who doesn't know anything, they should say that, okay, how it is built and all those, they should say that, okay, it is working as per their expectations. So that particular functionality, it is called as acceptance testing. Okay, acceptance testing in most of the companies. Okay, so whenever the testing team is going to test it, this is the most critical system or most important phase of the application. Okay, acceptance testing, because we cannot dictate the terms to the users how they want to use it. Okay, they can use whoever they want it. Okay, but provided within the requirements. Okay, it is not like when we say however they want to use it, it is not like left or right. Okay, so they should know the functionality. Based on that, you should be able to test it out. So this is where the most important phase, acceptance testing. And the users say, okay, they are able to test it. Okay, everything is fine. Okay. At times, parallelly, we try to do the performance testing. Performance testing is the one, okay, where we are going to have, okay. So in the practical workload, how the system is going to perform, okay, practical workload, how the system is going to work. That is what we are going to have in the performance testing. As always, we were talking about, let us say you are building a site and you are anticipating that, okay, 10,000 people as you're going to access. So at that time, now you need to make sure that that particular site, okay, is properly behaving, okay, by you putting a load to that, okay. And then if the application is not working, let us say after 1000 users it is failing, so what you do add more resources, means more memory space, more bandwidth, okay. So those kind of things you're going to add. Like if just take it to, this is IPL season now, okay. If you want to check the IPL scores, okay, you can check it in couple of sites, okay, like whatever the official IPL 2024 site you have it, you can test it out, or even you can go for ESPN Quick Info is there, okay. Or if you are going to have the streaming, okay, in the laptop when you're just trying to use Willow or Sling or something, then in those cases, they may be having an anticipation, okay, of how many people they are going to access. Like let us say 100,000 people or 100,000 places they are going to access the site. So in that case, what they do is before rolling off the site, they try to do this performance of the site virtually loading the users. Okay, like there are some tools, okay, which can do the test, like the load runners. Okay, you have. So in that case, you will be using the performance testing, and then once you did all these tests, all these kinds of tests, this is so far, this is, please remember, so far, whatever the testing we are doing, it is not in the live environment. Okay. It is not in the live environment or in the production environment. Okay. So at times, even before giving the application for the users for their acceptance testing, we do some other testing, some other type of testing, which is called as the smoke testing. So what is mean by the smoke testing? What we are going to do in case of the smoke testing? Let us say you did all the testing up to here. You performed all the testing, and we have the code. Okay, we have the application that is built. That is, we are giving access to the users. Okay, for their acceptance testing. But just before giving the link or user, okay, whatever the application to the users, we need to see, okay, we have to see that at least the application is working properly, okay. So it is a basic functionality, basic checks. Likewise, okay, I have this built, okay, what I will do, I just copy it into my local site, and then I started testing this is developed by my development team. I am here, okay, to test it out. What I am doing, I load it, and then I just go here, okay, home is working, like about us, okay, Hindi is working, announcements, okay, it's working, contact us, right? So all this is working. Even I am actually the end user. Even before I say that, right? There I have one more person who is validating this, okay? This is working properly or not. Okay. The small application, I can be the tester, I can be the user. But in case of large applications, we are going to have, okay, multiple teams that are going to verify. This they click and then see that everything is working properly. So that is the smoke testing functionality. It is just to see the basic application testing. Okay, basic testing, we are going to check it out. Okay, so this is all what you have in case of the testings. Okay, so we'll elaborate more on this. Just give me 1 second, please. Yeah. Please let me know if you have any questions about this. We can make it as more interactive. We are absolutely fine to make it as interactive. Okay. Now, along with this, okay, these are the main testing which we talk, okay. Along with this, okay, now we can have usually the applications that are built, okay, the applications which are built, the software applications built, okay, most of them, okay, they fall under client server technology, okay, or web-based applications, okay, client server or web-based applications we have, okay. What is the difference between these two? Okay, client server and web-based. In case of client server, if you call, okay, this is two-tier applications you can call web-based. Most of the applications, right? It is a three-tier. Please remember this particular comparison and this particular points which you are making. This is in context to understand about the testing. Okay. So we are not going in detail about the architectures of the three-tier, okay, two-tier, three-tier and all. Okay. Then just to understand how, what is the importance of testing and what kind of level the testing is going to be involved here. Okay. That is what our main concentration here. Okay. So if you talk about these architectures, client server or web-based, it is going to be a different context, different topic altogether. Okay, that is a big topic we have. But in case of the client server, okay, so we are going to have, okay, two things. In the case of client server, okay, we have the application that is built and that is going to be used. Okay, that particular application is mainly used where you are going to have an app or you are going to have an application like in the front end. You are going to use that and it is within the network. Okay, client server is mainly within the network, which you cannot directly access from the web. That is called a client server. Server means all the database related activities you have. Client means it is a form kind of stuff where you are going to provide the details. That is a client server, okay, architecture, which we can call it as a front end and back end. Okay. So in this case, it is most of these client server applications, they are going to be within the company or within our computer itself. We are going to have everything. Okay. Like it can be used for the small LAN and WAN network. LAN means local area network. Okay. So LAN networks that is going to be used. If you look at the computers, right? So we have two types of network connections. Most of them nowadays you have only the Wi-Fi, but otherwise you can have a cable connection to the computers. Okay? If you go to the corporates, right? So in that case, they provide a wide connection also along with the wireless. So this is you are going to give us. So we are going to be given an app, okay, in the front end, and that app is using that particular app. We are going to connect to the database which is inside the system, okay, or inside our network, okay, or our building only, okay. It's not going to be anywhere outside. This is we are going to have in case of the client server, okay. So this is two-tier. There are some types of testing which we are going to perform in case of the two-tier, okay. So what kinds of tests we are going to perform? Okay, in this case, we are going to have, okay, like user interface testing is required, and also like it depends, okay. So like manual support, okay, something like which you are going to have functionality we are going to have, and then it is a compatibility we have, and then we are going to have inter-system, okay. And please remember, these are some of the terminologies used across the industry. Okay, it doesn't mean that we have the standard, okay, black and white rules. Okay, it is like depending on the company to company or organization to organization, they come up with their own terminology or kinds of testing that is required. Okay, so the user interface means how the form is going to look like, or how the function, how the application is going to look like. Okay, like manual support. Okay, like how it is going to be manually when you're trying to do that, is whether it is properly accessible or not. Okay, and also like the support usually within the company also, what kind of support you are going to have, like cable not working, example. Okay, whether you are able to server is up or not. Okay, within the company itself will be having functionality. Is always the functional testing is required. Compatibility means in the company, when you are having an application that is built, okay, that application has to be accessed by different computers there. Okay, so that particular compatibility, one may be having a like the like example, if you just take it right, Intel you have, AMD processor you have. Okay, so those kind of things, and also the RAM. Okay, like how much RAM you have, how much memory you have. So those kind of testing we are going to have it. Inter-system means within the system, within the company, whether you have the support for this or not. It is not specifically built. Okay, so it is different types of testing, but most of this, it is a user interface testing. Even if the site which we are using right now, I am accessing it my local system, which is a local host, which is my own computer here. So it is kind of a client server which I have. Okay, and the main nowadays, most of these applications that are built are web-based applications we have. Okay, so what are the web-based applications? What are the main tests which are required for the web-based applications? And we call it as a three-tier architecture, which we are going to have here. Three-tier architecture. What is mean by this? We need to have a browser. Okay, and then it is a server, which is a web server you have, and then the database. Okay, so these are the three tiers which you are going to have. Okay, so front web browser you are going to have, like you will be typing a URL in the browser, and then it is a web server. Okay, where you are going to have the validations taken care, and then it is a database server. When you say browser, what is the browser we are going to use? Maybe Chrome or Edge, right? Those are the browsers. Web server, when you call, right? Behind the scene, when you are just even for behind the scene, when you are using the application from the browser, we are going to have some sort of validation or some sort of testing that is good, some sort of checks that are going to happen, which is written by using something like JavaScript you can have. Okay, or some Python code you have. Okay, example. Okay, or Perl you can have. Okay, VB script you have. So like that is called as a web server. Web server verifications is going to happen. DB server means, like, let us say you are building an application where you are going to provide the information about the user information. Okay, where you want to store that, we are going to use different types of databases. Okay, like SQL Server you are going to use, or Oracle you are going to use, MS MySQL you are going to use. Depending on the nature of the application, depending on the load of the application, depending on the volume of the data, we are going to choose these types of things. Okay, so what kind of information you are going to have? And we may have a question, even though web-based, does it need to be always three-tier? Need not be. If it is a static web application we are going to have, we need not worry about that. Okay, but we are talking about the big applications, so most of this data has to be stored at some place. Okay, so that is where we are going to have the DB server. Okay, so these are the two things. But now when it comes to the testing of the application, right, testing of the web applications, what are the different types of tests we are going to consider here? Okay, the first one, apart from these, or like part of this also we can consider. Okay, it depends like it is. So how we are going to consider in case of the web-based applications. So the first one, always any application, okay, whether it may be client server or whether it may be the web based, you need to have user interface testing. How the application is how the application is working, whether it is working properly or not. Likewise here, this is going to be a web application. Now, whether I have all these properly working or not, even depending on the application, right? It also matters. The color coding is also important here. Okay, like we cannot have complete full dark yellow on top of it dark red. Okay, so we cannot read it is not readable. Okay, because that particular concept also need to be looked into. Okay, color combinations. Okay, so that is the user interface, and also how it is looking, whether it is looking properly or not. If you see this, oh, this is very big letters to have. Okay, I want to take a small letters. Okay, so like this. So this is something like the how it is going to look like. It is the user interface testing is one of the criteria we have. And the next one is the obviously we need to have the functionality testing. Okay, whether whether it is meeting the user requirements or not. That is the functionality testing we have. And when it comes to the web applications, okay, we have the more important testing that is called as the security testing. Okay, security testing is also more important in case of web. Not only web, even like if you see banking applications, we need to make sure the security testing is properly done. Security testing, what do you mean by the security testing here? Like even this side, right? So it is actually failing in the security testing here. When I just try to use that HTTPS, it says not secure. Okay, so this particular testing, this particular application, we have to get the proper certificates, SSL. Okay, so SSL certificates has to be applied and everything, it has to go with the HTTP. Yes, and depending on the application which you are accessing, okay, like example which we were talking a while ago, okay, or like in previous sessions, one of the testing which we need to see, like you're trying to access an application, okay, without connecting to the VPN, you should not be able to connect to the company assets or company sites, okay, from outside. So like if you are just sitting in a Dunkin' Donuts, or if it is you're in the let us say you are just sitting in a McDonald's, okay. So in that case, you have to make sure that, okay, without connecting to the VPN, you should not be able to access the site, or you should not be able to access the company sites. That is something like the security testing we need to make sure, okay, anytime. And the next one which you will be having, okay, it is a browser compatibility testing. What is mean by the browser compatibility testing here? So in case of the web-based applications, once you are accessing one application, okay, let us say you have an application that is built. So whenever you are going to use this application, that has to be accessed and it should work the same way. If you are opening in Chrome, or if you are opening in Netscape Navigator, or if you are opening in Mozilla Firefox, or if you are opening in Edge, okay, even if you are going for the web, right, like phone, okay, so even if it is the web-based phone-based, okay, like iOS-based application, it should open properly in the Safari, okay. So these kind of things we need to make sure. It is called the browser compatibility testing. We need to make sure that. And then it is a load, okay, load, or we can call it as a stress testing. Okay, load testing which we need to perform. Okay, so there is a difference between we were talking always about the performance testing. Performance is different, load is a different here. Okay, so like it is when you are going to have the load, right, you are going to put so much pressure, but without increasing any resources there. Okay, so like that, which we are going to give too much stress to the system. Okay, still it should not fail. Okay, that is the load or the stress testing. Sometimes we use this performance as well as the load stress testing interchangeably. Yeah, it is how many people are using, and also like the same page you are just trying to access quickly, okay, multiple times, okay, something like that, which you are going to do that in case of the load. Okay, we are going to give so much of load to the application. Okay, that is where we are going to have the load or the stress testing. Okay, so you are only using, let us say you just open the page, close the page, okay, click the buttons, okay, quickly, fast. Okay, so we are just trying to see that you are going to give too much load to the system. Performance is like too many people will be accessing at the same time. Okay, and then we are going to have, okay, something like in the database testing is also there. Okay, always you will be having this applies to both. Okay, database testing not only for the web based, but it is for the client based also. Okay, in the sense, again, part of functionality we can just call it. Okay, so data volume, okay, storage and data volume testing also we can consider. Okay, we have to make sure all these testings are performed. Okay, and also interoperability. Okay, so something like these are the different types of testing which we are going to perform. Okay, in case of the web-based testing, and also in case of the client server testing. Okay, and we need not worry much about this terminology. Okay, so this is how the application is being, which we need to test it. Okay, these are all will be defined in the companies. Okay, like what kind of testing we need to have. Okay, so what kind of applications we have, all this we will be getting the knowledge. Okay, and we will be start testing that. It's not like, okay, we just go into the company and the next minute you will be asked to sit and then perform all this. But we need to have the knowledge of what kind of testing is required. Okay, and depending on the requirement, depending on what we are going to, depending on the application, right? So we should be able to suggest. Clear? It's like when you just talk about the client server, right? We just usually see that, okay, application is running in more than two missions, okay, and also is a menu driven, okay. So connected like it is, okay, unless until you click on the logout, because it's individual system to system we are going to have, okay. So it is something like when you want to use an application, right? You will be given an exe file and you need to test, you need to install it in your system. That is something like the web, that is something about the client server application. You will be given a file, you need to download that, install it, and try to use it. Okay, that is what you will be having in case of the client server. Whereas in case of web based, you need not install anything, directly access the application. Okay, so like using the URL, okay, URI based we are going to have. So many types of testing we call. Okay, and one more also, most of these applications we need to remember one kind of testing. It is a boundary value analysis also we need to testing. Okay, boundary value analysis we have to make sure that, okay, we will write the test cases for this scenario. Boundary value analysis. Okay, I just give a quick example of this. Okay, I'm just saying that for the email ID or message, okay, I'm going to put a message as maximum 4,000 characters are allowed. Example, when I say 4,000 characters, when we are testing, we need to make sure that we have 4,000 characters tested, 3,999 characters are also tested, 4,001 characters are also tested. Okay, so that is called the boundary value. Okay, boundary is like when you have 4,000, a number here less and also number more. That particular kind of testing also is we need to make sure. Okay, so that is all which we are going to have in case of the boundary value analysis. Okay, like we are going to verify that if it is properly within the boundaries or not. Okay.